Hey everyone. So apparently there was an updated article in reference to the video that I had just uploaded today, which is the 18th of April, 2017, in regards to this Winnipeg man that was kind enough to offer some great advice to these young kids that were selling lemonade at their lemonade stand. Gave them each $20 and his business card, more or less told them about some of the impending consequences of running any kind of a business in a country such as Canada, where you have central planners from government who will want to confiscate and take a portion of any income or wealth that you may accumulate as a result of creating your own business. That's the sad part. That's the sad reality of the world that we live in today, is you actually have to start very young, because through the education process, status, those who promote and believe in forced subjugation, well, they're constantly pounding into your kid's head all the time to accept, when they grow up, to accept, not just accept, but to respect and almost enjoy the fact that there's mystical central planners, this central planning construct called government, that gets to take, without your express permission, portions of your income and your wealth. The education system, because it's based and relies on that forced wealth redistribution model, well, your educators are never going to tell you proper information that would be in line in something like this gentleman would say. That's the great divide. They're the status, and they're very cultish in their mentality. They're basically their mindset is very much similar to those that are indoctrinated into other religions, right, or cults. They're taught, and that's why education starts younger and younger and younger, and now it starts at what? By the time you're 4 years old. So when you go through your entire childhood, and the bulk of the input in your life are people that are telling you that it's okay to accept and actually appreciate having portions of your income taken without your express permission, which is theft or extortion, whichever way you look at it. For someone to come up and try to offer them an alternative narrative and be honest and objective with them, well, they don't want you to tell them the truth, because then then the house of cards comes crashing down, right? Then you'll crumble, you'll destroy the mysticism, the power of controlling and dominating your mind into the belief that you have to be a servant or a serf to the ruling class. Headline to this particular one is, man who gave $100 to kids' lemonade stand says it was just a good deed. Winnipeg police say they want to speak to Michael Bassett about the incident. And actually, I'm friends with Michael Bassett now. I reached out to him after I read the first article and made my first video in regards to this whole situation. And he's agreed that at some stage of the game, I'm going to have an interview with him so he can give his side of the story, without me ad-libbing into what I would say, because obviously mine's just opinion. I wasn't there that particular day. So I want him to be able to clarify for me and for anyone else that pays attention to my videos, his side and his position on it. But he's basically, what he explained to me is basically, he was just trying to help educate and inform these young kids. They had no ill intents, and obviously he wouldn't. I mean, the guy's got a website. He's not trying to hide himself, right? But the way, and just like in my video, the way the media tried to paint him, especially with that reference to the white van, which he's even said too, that, yeah, there was no white van. So that's even a bullshit pretense. Why they put that in the story, I don't know. But obviously for devious purpose. Like I say, these people in the media, and this lady that reported in it, Rutherford was her last name. I put it in my original video anyways. You'll see what her name was in the original video, but the CBC reporter was doing it. But it was very devious and very underhanded and very deceptive how they tried to paint this man. Anyways, let's see what else they have to say in this article. A Winnipeg man who gave a group of Winnipeg kids $100 at a lemonade stand along with a business card for an anti-tax website is speaking out about what he says is a misunderstanding following concerns from parents. But police say that the incident, while not illegal, was inappropriate and are looking to speak with Marcel Bassett to warn him not to do it again. And like I said in my past video, well, cops, right? The enforcers of the state, that is literally their duty. That's literally their job, is to be the enforcers of the political / ruling class in Canada. So how do they get their paychecks? Oh, right, that's right. Through taxation, through forced wealth redistribution. You can't hold them to account, so if they do something wrong, that you can take away their incomes. No, that's a model that does not exist under the current paradigm of central planning. So the fact that their incomes, these police officers, their incomes relies on people's belief into the system of statism and forced wealth redistribution, well, of course, it's in their own best interest to say, hey, don't speak out against that. Like I say, it's just like the mafiosos, right? The guy that the big wigs in the mafia, right? Well, they pay their subordinates with the money they steal or they plunder from businesses. Well, if you're the person that benefits from the plundering of businesses or others in your community, well, of course you're like, hey, don't fucking go against that. My paycheck, my livelihood relies on it. It's immoral. It's just so fucking unjust. It's not even, I don't even know why I even spend much time trying to explain it, because I think even a 5-year-old at this stage of the game would understand it. Bassett, who identifies as Marcel of the family Bassett, said Monday he was disturbed to read concerns from parents in Winnipeg's Wolseley neighborhood who called police after he gave $100 to a group of 5 kids last Thursday. It was meant to be a really warm, good-feeling thing, Bassett said. Toby McRae said her 2 sons were selling lemonade at the corner of Lipton Street and Westminster Avenue last Thursday, along with 2 friends, when a man handed them 5 $20 bills with a card that explained how to make money with your own society. Outside the purview of government central planners, like gangs, collective gangs. That's what, like I say, there's no such thing as benevolence when you're talking about central planning governments, because everything they do is all about forced wealth redistribution. It's not like they give out freely. It's not like they're big, giant, wealthy individuals that take their own wealth that they've created and hand it out freely. Now, that would be a benevolent person. These are people that steal from predominantly the working poor and confiscate that for the central plan type to keep their own positions, their own influences, above par, so that the rest of the sheeple or the people in Canada don't have any way to challenge them. If you had money, if you had the ability, like if I had the ability to steal and plunder people to prop me up, yeah, I could create a really big platform, right? And a big giant entity or corporation or governmental system that would challenge this. But because governments, they monopolize, they're the monopoly of force and violence and theft in any geographical landmass, they don't like any competition. That's what it really comes down to. McRae called the police after her son told her he saw the man get into a white van down the street. Bassett said he never got into a van and wants to set the record straight about the incident to put parents' mind at ease. I don't want them thinking there's a predator in the neighborhood when there's not. I mean, there might be, but it's not me, he told CBC Monday. Bassett is a member of the Peacemaker Society, a group that doesn't believe in paying taxes, and says he simply wanted to spread that message while supporting the young entrepreneurs. I just walked up, told them it was for the lemonade stand, that I was proud for them for being entrepreneurs, that I've run stuff through my life, and here's $20 each and a card so you guys can learn with your family. So once again, it's just a big misunderstanding. Let me finish a little bit more, because Mr. Bassett had something else to say. Bassett told CBC he does not pay taxes and that it wasn't his intention to scare any parents, but in hindsight he understands why parents were concerned. The kids in the moment were really excited. I think it's once they get home and there was a misunderstanding with their parents, perhaps, for the motivation of the incident. Winnipeg police spokesman Jay Murray said the incident is troubling and, while not illegal, police want to talk to Mr. Bassett. It's one thing for him to approach an adult and kind of communicate those beliefs, but I don't think it's appropriate for him to talk to minors about this, he said. You can't be doing this kind of thing. Murray said Bassett is known to police and the officers are still trying to find him to talk about the incident. So, of course, like I said, right? look through this man's history and you'll find out probably a very peaceful, easygoing type of person that just wants to prevent the state from using theft and forced wealth redistribution against him and prevent them from having so much pretense of authority over him and his income and the products and fruits of his labor, right? That's really what it comes down to. But listen to the way they're talking to him. You know, they don't want him to talk to any kids that are young. But like I say, look at the education system. And just let me give you a couple other words here. Prussian, you know, do a Google search for the Prussian model as far as the education system, because that's what Egerton and Ryerson back in the 1800s brought to Canada, right? Even back when Canada was very early on in its pretense of being a nation, they were looking to figure out how can we create an education system that creates very nationalist, conformist, obedient, hardworking, right, type of people, and militaristic almost in the way that the education is done. Like I say, if you understand the history of the Prussian model of education, then you will understand instinctively what we're talking about. These people have no problem whatsoever using mysticism, forced subjugation, and collectivism. Very devious practices to subjugate your children to believe in the mystical concept of the state, right? Of having central planners or rulers or people that have the pretense of authority over them. They have no problem doing that. But if somebody comes out and tries to speak in opposition to that cult, that religion, well, that's where the heavy hand of the authoritarians come in. That's when it comes down, right? That's what we're trying to talk about today. The state government, it's all ideologically driven. It's all based on mystical, fictional concepts that I've proven in the past in just 4 simple questions. You can ask someone 4 simple questions and come conclusively with provable, undeniable facts that there's no such thing as legitimate government. I don't have any legitimate authority to take from my neighbor or other people or to force them to abide by my edicts. I don't have any legitimate authority to ask my friend to act out and carry out orders on my behalf to force other people to subject themselves to my whims or my theft, right? And I don't have any pretense of authority to ask a group to carry out my orders or edicts or under any pretense that I have any legitimate authority over other people. And I'm just a human being. But that's the pretense of how a government gets their power. The pretense of their authority is that the citizens give it to them through voting. But if the citizens don't have any of those rights or authorities themselves, well, how can they delegate those rights or authorities onto other human beings? It's an impossible concept. Just like the magic of the Easter Bunny, of Santa Claus. It's all based on mystical concept. Now, they've done it great. You know, they wrote the narratives. They did all kinds of different things to make it seem legitimate. And because they start that indoctrination process very early on in people's lives, people grow up thinking that, just like you grew up thinking the Easter Bunny and the Santa Claus was real, right? The only time you learned otherwise is when other people told you the truth and said, no, that's not true. The rest of them, your parents and a lot of them, still believe in the mysticism of the state because nobody wants to tell them the truth about that, or very few people do. So it's all about horizontal enforcement. Even for those of us like this gentleman or like myself that understand the truth, it's all about those who are still indoctrinated into the faith of statism. Well, they'll try to silence and squish anyone that steps outside that realm. They don't want anyone to learn the actual truth because, like I say, then even the whole pretense of democracy, of central planning, then that whole concept of forced subjugation, well, it'll be proven just like when slavery ended. People no longer even believe in the concept of slavery, of old world, real human ownership type slavery. We still have slavery in the modern world, but it's under a totally different pretense called democracy. But they don't want them to lose that. This is their last bastion of power, of dominance, of control. And they don't want to lose that power over the people. They're holding on with a firm, mighty, iron-fisted grip. And that's really what it comes down to. I'll share a link, or I'll share this article in the video description below so you can finish reading it. There's not a whole lot left to read it, but just to help better educate and inform yourself as to what kind of shit these people are trying to put forth and present in regards to this gentleman. And hopefully when I get to talk to Mr. Bissett, we can clarify things even further. Skinny Libertarian, and I love liberty.